I'm checking, has some a lot of difficulties about getting this technology. But greetings to this panel, to those who are tuning in. Pan African Unity of Parish, call for abolition of neo-colonialism. I'm Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., international chairman of the Black Panther Party Cubs. Forgive me, my voice is a little bit gone. I'm the son of Chairman Fred Hampton and also of Akua and Jerry, formerly known as Deborah Johnson. Chairman Fred was deputy chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, who, ironically, I'm sitting in his childhood home right now, the home in which he grew up in, which has been a major campaign for the Black Panther Party Cubs. That campaign to save, and as we say now, save and maintain the Hampton House. Chairman Fred, along with Defense Secretary Mark Clark, were victims of terrorism. And I know many of us, when we hear that term terrorism, we automatically, have been conditioned to automatically connect it, with such situations as September 11, 2001, New York. Many of us do not, connect terrorism with dates such as February 21st, April 4th, 1968, May 13th, 1985, or in fact, just simply yesterday. You know what I'm saying? The deal is, we, the Black Panther Party Cubs, have authored some years back, over two, in fact, ironically, shortly after September 11, 2001, the AAT bill, the African Anti-Terrorism Bill, again, the African Anti-Terrorism Bill. And what this was kind of put things in context. I was released from being, I'm a former political prisoner. I was released September 14th, 2001, after serving altogether approximately 9 years in just about every concentration camp in the state of Illinois. And if you notice, even the terms, we tend to be consistent with the terms. I say I was held captive in the concentration camps. I had a ransom. We attempt to not deviate. At one point, say I was in the concentration camps, then switch lanes and say that I had a bond. And in so many cases, many people we have been told to not acknowledge the terrorism that we're subjected to, or have a reactionary response. In other words, when something, the different, when it's quote unquote politically correct, when something happens to many people as an individual, they could say, oh, they could see the situation, and then get right back, along with engaging, right on. Okay, I mean, yeah, yes, indeed. There, many attempt to engage in it subjectively. In other words, it's kind of like we refer to as the Sprewell effect. Latrell Sprewell, a former player for the NBA or New York Knicks, and it was a situation where he had corrected the white coach, and yeah, my sister, I'm on now. I'm in now. Right on. Yep. Right on. Appreciate you. Right on. Give thanks. Yes, indeed. Right on. Okay. Well, I was giving an analogy about the Sprewell effect, in which again, so subjectively, people say people can relate to the race contradictions when it's something happens to them as an individual. We attempt to objectively assess the terrorism that African people in particular have been subjected to, and to put it objectively, not just being confined to a certain geographical location, a certain generational period, and this is or even subjected to in regards to yielding and not to how many people attempt to incorrectly assess the gender assessment in regards to African people. Now I'm saying, let me deal with that latter point last. I was speaking about a narrative that was put forward. I don't know if people have heard it. There's a big thing going on. There's a parade with some like a Sesame Street, the Muppets or something, and they were doing a parade, and you've seen a blatant contradiction with the Muppets, the Sesame Street Muppets, how they related to white people, white children, and there were two young black girls. And you can see the blatant arrogance, the racism, even displayed by this Muppet, again, Muppet from Sesame Street. And the narrative that came out was a consistent attempt to say there's black girls. And not that we're not cognizant of it, it attempts to divide us as a people. We do recognize, we do recognize their countries within our communities. However, we have the African anti-terrorism bill. It attempts to up the ante, to put in context, the populace of African people that have been kidnapped. A system that does not, it may exploit different dynamics, different, whether it be the gender or geographical locations, but to put in context, it's a historical attack on our people, and many attempts. There's an attempt to old axiom goes divide and conquer. So the African anti-terrorism bill, to again give a historical context, because a lot of times people have a reactionary assessment to say, well, the police they acting they're treating black people bad in this particular period of time, as opposed to take it to historical account. What the police department was birthed off of. You look at the initial, the slave patrols, those Africans who were during the era of chattel slavery, that escaped. That was the initial birth, the premise of the inception of the police department, and make those, like, even various forms of chemical biological warfare. It may mutate, kind of like the coronavirus. It may morph. But you look historically, whether we're talking about the Tuskegee experiments, whether we're talking about various forms of heroin, or AKA horse, so on and so forth, and we look at relationship, how it has been politically implemented in our communities, how it's been assessed, how it's been dealt with. Case in point. Recently, with the heroin, whether we're talking about how the media, how black people depicted as dope fiends, so on and so forth, the court system, the judicial system, going inside the court and giving prison time, as opposed to within the white communities, even the terms, how it's viewed, the opium addiction, opium problem, even law enforcement being armed with narc packages or some sort of, to be able to medically, as opposed to enforce, as opposed to in other words, as opposed to handcuffs, locking you up. See how can we deal with this situation, putting it in context as a form of chemical biology, the chemical elements of it. We talk about even terms such as gentrification with the African anti-terrorism bill. The opposition is the land grab, and the desired housing that this government has for black people in particular is the penitentiaries and the graveyards. Police terrorism, chemical biological warfare, political prisoners are victims of terrorism, and in this put in this context, the terrorism that black people, as we say, not the OGs, but the OVs, the original victims of terrorism. Opposition was, when people talked about September 11, 2001, it was a phenomenal discussion on the college campuses, the media, how resources were allocated. Entertainers were saying, donating to the victim of terrorism. To put this in context of, again, the original victims of terrorism, it ups the ante, how we view the trickle-down impact, as opposed to taking credit for the crimes that are committed against us. Example, it's acknowledged in places such as Nazi Germany that the then Führer, Adolf Hitler, they implemented the ghettos. They created the ghettos, as opposed to our community The tables have been turned. The flip has been scripted to give some of the impression that the victims, that we created the ghettos. The propaganda. Nazi Germany with Grobel, who was the minister of propaganda under Hitler's tenure. The movies that were put forward, the type of movies, and how it depicted the people, how it dehumanized them, how people became stoic to even the pain. In fact, there was an interview I recall watching where William Shatner, of the famed Star Trek, was interviewing Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer, who many are familiar with that being a reactionary talk show host. However, he was a former mayor in the city in Ohio, a judge. In other words, I'm saying this to say he's very politically equipped, so regardless of what type of reactionary issue they give us. And when Shatner interviewed Jerry Springer, Jerry Springer had said something to the effect that he recalled his grandmother, who was a victim and a survivor of Nazi Germany. And she said something to the effect, she said, "You must even be careful. You must be cautious on how people even do comedy, how they make jokes about your people." I said, wow, that's interesting. This is Jerry Springer saying this. Even the comedy is political, and how it sets the stage to, to prepare us to accept and welcome, and then even take credit for the terrorism. Again, the terrorism that we are subjected to, whether it comes through various forms of chemical biological warfare, i.e. heroin, Percocet. Even if you listen to the quote unquote music that can be defined in any other community, would be seen as propaganda bombs. Again, propaganda bombs. That the propaganda bombs, to give you like a history, to put it in context. Right on. Yes, indeed, right on. I'm tag team with you in a minute, Brother Jamal, no doubt. The propaganda bombs. This is. I'm saying these different terms because to put it in context, you're talking about a war, as opposed to subjectively seeing the situation, a few cases of bad police, as opposed to saying the protocol. This was the Black Panther Party author African anti-terrorism bill puts in context the protocol police terrorism. So it doesn't leave you open to saying to the particular sentiments of saying this is a good police or bad police. The media, the machinery, Hollywood, the machinery of it. You know what I'm saying? See, we deal with these different dynamics to come in objectively. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to there's some sort of individual sentiments, or you can win a person. You know what I'm saying? But the machinery of it, and recognize that there's a war there has been historical war waged against us, though it may operate under various euphemisms through various times. War, the red scale, the communism, the war on communism, so on and so forth. And we heard about many of the white entertainers and artists whose careers are destroyed, but the underbelly of it, you know what I'm saying, the black people, whose lives were destroyed, you know what I'm saying? I mean the attacks on Paul Robeson in particular, there's so many others, and who took what positions, you know what I'm saying? Even other Negroes who you know what I'm saying, who were complicit with the attacks on, you know what I'm saying, protracted deaths, assassinations on various people, whether it be destroying their careers or what have you. Under the former director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, who many people who has been prompted up to be symbolic of this attack on the mafioso, you know what I'm saying, the white crime syndicate, so on and so forth, which is a blatant contradiction to the fact that for long periods of time, J. Edgar Hoover denied that the mafia even existed. In fact, that was one of the internal conflicts between J. Edgar Hoover and Robert Kennedy, who was then Attorney General, the brother of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. And under the auspices of a so-called the war on the mafia, you've seen J. Edgar Hoover, who prior to being director of the FBI, being simply a DA, a district attorney, whose main target, whose career was birthed and propelled and attacking Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the UN, in particular, the UNIA, you know what I'm saying? And later on, we became familiar with the infamous COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program. And we look at the consistencies throughout time, and also to make the connection with the assassinations of Patrice Lumumba and so many of our African greats, to make that connection to, you know what I'm saying, regardless, you know what I'm saying, to transcend gender, geographical, and generational time boundaries, to transcend water and land barriers, colonial borders, and to make that common call of we have in common is African people as being victims of terrorism, and also a non-acknowledged, you know what I'm saying, a non-acknowledged war that has been waged on us, and that's done so strategically that it becomes implemented in the DNA. That, you know what I'm saying, even whether it's consciously or subconsciously, what people will pass it will be passed down for generation to generation. I can't recall under whose tenure it was, but there was a period in South Africa, South Korea, where they will hold a prisoner for at least 3 generations. In other words, to weed up out of you, you know what I'm saying, what particular stance that you made, that you carry, and to be terrorized to the point that in fact, we are so, our people, Black African people, terrorized point that we even terrified to even acknowledge it. Even terrified to even acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? To brush it off. Don't even say it in public. Don't even acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? And not even having that release to even acknowledge that the feeling that we have when the police lights, you know what I'm saying, come behind us. The feeling that all of us have, whether we have degrees or whether we some, you know, just cat out there on the street corners, you know what I'm saying, hanging out. That from the top of our head to the tip of our toes, that feeling of terrorism, that feeling of, you know what I'm saying, even if it's out of good intent, you know what I'm saying, to tell our children, don't say this, don't speak about that. And whether we're talking even in the schools, what to speak on, what to relate to. Fellow Panther called Tupac had said in one of his songs. We know. Just, you know, saying, to speak about Dr. King, not Malcolm X. There's no stuff Dr. King, because let the record reflect he too was a victim of the same said terrorism. But the deal is, again, to be able to win, to fight for a space to at least acknowledge it. And again, we have moved forward to Africa, the Black Panther Party Cubs, and some of the battles that we've incurred with after implementing the African anti-terrorism bill, which some certain such forces. Councilman Charles Barron in New York, you know, was online supporting it, and you know, saying we put it forward throughout various cities and, you know, and states, and though it may not have technically got, you know, passed certain legislation, it upped the ante for certain discussions. In other words, there was certain similar to the position, the moves that Malcolm X was fighting for in regards to human rights. You know, so for African people, some of the trickle down benefits, even in the other arenas, such as with Dr. King to our civil rights, this came as a result of some of the fights that were going on, with Malcolm X on the world stage. So there have been certain leaps made in various arenas due to, you know, saying, our push and demand for African anti-terrorism bill. And we were approached with various forces. People say, well, won't you change the name? Won't you say that people can relate to that? So on and so forth. For call it, people of color bill. So we hold the line. We hold the line, because even you look historically, how African people, how even in some cases to our detriment, how when we open up, when we fight, we don't say we do not fight in a subjective way. You know, say it's a connection to, you know, saying to colonized people, to colonized people in general. So with that, I'd like to open up for any questions or comments or input or what have you. Again, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., International Chairman of the Black Panther Party Cubs. Thousands of people to right on. Yes, indeed. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm also on a few of my social media platforms. So let me throw this out there while we letting this soak in. I have hold on. I was about to mention Kimber. Is Philly doing any work? Yes, in fact, we have it's again, mind you, this is over 2 decades. It's 2022. Yeah, this is over 2 decades. This has been approximately in place and fighting for about 2 decades at least. Yeah. So I was September 14, 2001. Shortly after that, we implemented this. And so it's been highs and lows in regards to the campaign for the African anti-terrorism bill. And yes, we definitely, in fact, I can't recall what we did in particular, but I know we put it forward several occasions, but in particular highlighting May 13, 1985, for example, the bomb that was dropped on Osage Avenue. And you know, contrary, many people are an impression that saying that the U.S. had dropped the bomb in regards to Libya being the first occasion. But it's saying the height of the discussion, like people even became more familiarized about even Tulsa, Oklahoma, and saying had this saying again, but even subconsciously, a lot of times we don't even put it in historical context. Also, the case of Mumia Abu Jamal, Russell Maroon Sosa, we recently released. 1 minute. What? Recently released, and we fortunately we was able to get him out before he made his physical transition. But you know what I'm saying, and let me say, I'm gonna show you when saying physical transition. I would struggle not to euphemize that. The state, they took him out to Russell Maroon Schultz. And this state is, many people say, well, what do you mean? Did they implement the death penalty, directly? But this system is very Machiavellian. So I mentioned earlier about the protracted assassinations. And I was correlating that to, to the attacks on, Paul Robeson. And, how this system, it deadens us. It takes us out, directly, indirectly. Number of occasions I said, though the government assassinated my father, Chairman Fred, and Defense Secretary Mark Clark in a graphic way, but the reality is this system attempts, and in many cases successful, in taking out many of our fathers and mothers, whether it be through shooting them down, shooting them up with narcotics, stringing them out on narcotics, something, locking them up. It's one way or another taking you out. But back to the heart of the question, Philadelphia, yes. So we've had a long history with forces there, about, and again, putting this in context about, highlighting certain cases. And when we say highlighting certain cases, it does not negate the other cases that many people talk about, but these are the win the conversation so people can start even second nature automatically on a consistent basis. As soon as we hear about it, as opposed, our terms, as opposed to saying, did you hear about Little John being locked up? I heard Little John was kidnapped. See, even that, I'm saying, just even again, as we say, it's the old axiom, there's a difference between a revolution and a war. A war is when you have two occupying armies, when they suit up and they boot up, get down to get out. The revolution, when you gain the mass of participation, the masses of the people, so our terms are political. And also, when I say when we say the African anti-terrorism bill, the legislation plays a role. However, the propaganda, like even when the artists, say certain terms and they how it was viewed, the analogy can be drawn with, you look at, like, let's pick any one of the instances of U.S. aggression against other countries. I'm just in U.S. aggression. Vietnam. It was the U.S. recognized not only the importance of the troops, occupying Vietnam, but recognized also the importance of such entertainers as Marilyn Monroe, Bob Hope, entertaining the troops. All this is part of those, because again, it's coming out that Che Guevara said that the role of the propagandist can be as important as that of the guerrilla. Similarities. Jamal, okay, Philly, okay, between the original Black Panther part of that. Okay, right on. Okay, what are the similarities between and differences between the Black Panther, the Black Panther Party and Black Panther Party Cubs. One off the top of my head is the logo. This is the logo for the. That's definitely the Black Panther. This Black Panther Party Cub logo. I don't know if you can see it. Of course. First, let me premise with this. We are honored. I said we the Black Panther Party Cubs are honored to attempt, as we say, not to walk in simply the footsteps, but the Panther Paw steps. One of the most revolutionary organizations the world has witnessed, that being the Black Panther Party. We say it's a tough act to follow. We try our best. We do not. We recognize also that we're not stuck in a time lock. We relate to a philosophical tool, dialectical materialism, where we take into account that things are constantly evolving, constantly changing. That as well as dying and disintegrating. In fact, I've commented to some members of our advisory board, who we are fortunate to have such some members of the Black Panther Party on our advisory board, who we can touch bases with, and correlate. And I recall, ironically, it was during the filming period of Judas and Black Messiah, and the counterinsurgency was intensified. I'm going to say it was intensified. I'm talking the agent provocateurs. I'm talking about the attacks. And there was so many similarities that, we were relating. I was checking out. I was like, touching bases. I was asking, comrades, what was it like, during that climate right there, particularly William O'Neill, which forces were liberal, the history of it. And there was certain similarities with that, so definitely the continuous, counterinsurgency, the attacks. But I also recall making mention of, I said, well, all due respect to my advisory board, say there was not such, there was certain dynamics that were not in place then. Excuse me, that's about the rain, about the storm, the background noise, such as social media, even that social, and that's let me attempt to balance it, because I think it's important. And we talk about the Black Panther Party, that people recognize that they're saying such things that many people in the generation at hand, the present generation, may take for granted. This has been, a phenomenon or an entity that has always existed. I think it's important when you talk about Chicago alone feeding a minimum of 3,500 children a week. We struggle to put it in context. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is on the ground. This is the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are saying this was not some GMO government-made organization. It's important we talk about Captain Reggie Shell in Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? Designating then Deputy Minister of Information Mumia Abu-Jamal. You know what I'm saying, to go to Chicago. Post assassination of Chairman Freddie Defense and Lamar Clark. To struggle to put in our minds. This is not people, with frequent flyer miles. This is not people that can with cell phones. You know what I'm saying? So to put that, in fact, I said on the movie Judas and Black Messiah, and mind you, this is prior to the pandemic. I said I'm kind of concerned. I said one of my concerns is that, in fact, right here at this table where I'm sitting at right now, I recall at this table with Daniel Kaluuya, sitting right here, and Dominic Fishback, Charles King, Ryan Coogler, Zinzi, his wife, and also his tag team in the work also. I remember discussion. I remember was commenting. Chaka King, the director, and I made a comment. This was some of the struggle we about the movie. Initially we had initial discussions about it, and I said, well, some people the Hollywood that is such a phenomenon. Some people they would say, regardless of the fact that Daniel Kaluuya is literally younger than me. Some people the image of the Hollywood screen, people say, well, is that his father? And I said, you got to be real careful with this phenomenon, of Hollywood. And I also recall saying that this is a generation that I don't see will be able to grasp the importance of a free breakfast program. And In other words, they would say they appreciate it. They would say, wait, why didn't the people just order Grubhub? You know what I'm saying? That's the mindset. So the pandemic also the certain conditions, you know what I'm saying, that it helps intensify yourself, open up to be able to relate this, the importance and the revolutionary spirit of it. You know what I'm saying? And we even have a discussion about terms such as African. You know what I'm saying? Okay, 10 minutes, time to take a few. Okay, right on. Okay, I think I was taking questions now. I was reading. Okay, so okay, I think I get a heads up 10 minutes. So let me go. Any more questions? I mean, I'm open for questions. Free them all. Well, I was glad to be here. I want to officially invite everyone, and of course, you put it out the word out. The August 30th, Chairman Fred Hampton Street Party. Every year we have it. Go to Save the Hampton House, SaveTheHamptonHouse.org. If you can, get to Chicago, the Chairman Fred Street Party, annual Chairman Fred Street Party, August 30th. If you can make it, come on out. You know what I'm saying? SaveTheHamptonHouse.org. You know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. Yeah, I got difficulty with it. Yeah. I can't. I'm trying to juggle. I can't. Yeah. So, was there any more questions? Thank you all. Thank you all. Again, SaveTheHamptonHouse.org. Reach out to us. We want to help us get the word out. I can be contacted at Chairman Fred Speaks. Chairman Fred Speaks. Chairman Fred Speaks at gmail.com. Chairman Fred Speaks at gmail.com. And also update what we're doing. Also, SaveTheHamptonHouse.org. And also shout out to the Dr. UEP Newton Foundation. You can be found on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, and other social media outlets. August 30th, Chairman Fred Street Party. So I think I click up. How can you get another question? And let me know if I'm going over my time. Also, how can we unite our organizations? Many occasions, it's been brought to me. Saying, well, Chairman Fred, saying, when you come in, you make, when you present, you may be divisive. I said, no. We identify. I think opposition is that, saying, as opposed to just an abstract call for just unity for unity's sake. You say, like, in fact, I remember some struggles, some brothers I was locked up with. I was held captive. They would agree. They would say, unity. I say, principle unity. We can't even play basketball. We can't play basketball with just simply saying, okay, everyone come together. Because reality is we do not have all the same interests. Then that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Ideally speaking, it's beautiful. That's why, and this is not, we can't just, oh man, black people, we don't, there's something bad about black people. One thing I liked about that movie series, Games of Thrones, it showed you the struggles with the white. I mean, those are movie white people, the differences. You talk about the infamous Daily Machine in Chicago. There were class contradictions even within the Daily Machine, as opposed to the Mayor Daily to the other representatives of the Irish community. So we must identify. If in certain cases we can have points of unity on. So okay, certain camp. What's the term? Maybe ad hoc committees. So okay, we can unite with this. We can unite with this call. I disagree with you in regards to this agenda, but I can relate with you that was going on Saturday. I can agree that 17-year-old sisters in Cook County Jail should not be forced to rinse out their sanitary napkins. I agree that after Cassandra Greer Lee continuously called and and documented her call to Sheriff Tom Dart, the sheriff of Cook County Jail, and while her husband Nicholas Lee was telling her about other prisoners, dying, like right in front of him, and that something should have been done. You know what I'm saying? I agree that if the carnage that's happening throughout Chicago, Philadelphia, this should not be occurring. You know what I'm saying? So say, okay, what points of unity as opposed to like similar to when it was a big hoopla, I forget what year it was, when they had Vote or Die, the Vote or Die campaign. And people was asking, what's our position on certain politicians? We said, no, turn the tables around. We said, what's their position? What is their particular position on the African anti-terrorism bill? Yes. What's their position on reparations? What's their position, you know what I'm saying, on political prisoners? To come with a criteria, you know what I'm saying? This is something that we believe people should come with, even in a relationship. It shouldn't just be open up. Oh, we just this have a relationship. No, this is who I am. So as a people, we should not be divided or limited to when politicians run for office. They just come around and say, okay, we're gonna do some commercials, some gospel music in the background. We're gonna do, you know what I'm saying, do some come out, you know what I'm saying, as Hillary Clinton said on the Breakfast Club, I'm gonna keep my hot sauce in my purse, we'll get some fried chicken, and we're gonna get some famous rapper, entertainer come out and speak for us. You know, no, and there should be some criteria. And that even goes in regards to the coalition building. You know what I'm saying? People say, we should just come on this and be some friends. I said, the stakes are too high. There are certain family members who I don't deal with, who I love. You know what I'm saying? We must recognize the situation we're in. We talking about struggle. Okay. My good. Okay. Again, I don't want to. Let me know. This, y'all. I won't say bear with me. Cub with me in regards to this about this technology. So I need to know if I'm stepping over my time. Okay. What was that? Okay. Back to you. Okay. Okay. Next to Jamal Brewer. There was some people in the 80s was in the NBA. Critical. Okay. Critical. Hold on now. I just almost lost you. Jamal Brewer. Critical. Cash. Daniel. Okay. Daniel's your father because he wasn't a black man. How do you come back? Okay. Jamal Brewer. Right on. We encourage, struggle. We encourage dialogue, you know what I'm saying? And in fact, I said, I was looking forward to this even dialogue here. And we struggle to win, not struggle second. I say we struggle to win, not subjectively as a person. In other words, it's not the ego tripping out, to make my point, the prevailing point, the dominant point, but as a people, how does it come out, how we advance as a people? And it was a reactionary, you know what I'm saying? And the deal is we have to up the ante. In other words, as we say with us, we was barbecuing yesterday, and I said, hey man, cut the fat in front of meat. See, what do you mean, Chairman? We all say, let's see who's gonna barbecue, who's gonna meal do. A lot of people just, it be subjective, their own personal agenda, you know what I'm saying? But it's not based on, so we have to up the ante to have some real concrete dialogue and criticism and self-criticism, so on and so forth. In regards to Daniel Kaluuya, let me give you a little background. In fact, there's a poster right behind me. That poster right there, it talks about when Antoine Fuqua was set to do a movie, who he had got the rights from an author of a book authored by a white guy who was not sanctioned to do the book on Chairman Fred. And I've seen people who call themselves conscious would relate to, who would say, well, I disagree with this. I said, with Chairman Fred, excuse me, they wouldn't even say Chairman. I can tell where a person has been politicized from, or you had a reference Chairman Fred. I can tell where that school of thought come from. This one sister told me one time, she said, it'll make a difference on where you get your information from, as long as you get it. I said, I beg to differ. There's a difference between a silverback gorilla that has got the milk from the breastplate of the gorilla, you know what I'm saying, in the Congo, as opposed to a gorilla that has been fed the milk, the powdered milk from the poacher, or you know what I'm saying, through the zoo. It's a different type of gorilla. The information, you know what I'm saying, that we was able to put into the movie Judas and Black Messiah, we was able to put what we call the Panther Cub political peel and applesauce. When we raised criticism by various people trying to attempt to do movies, and not out of naivety, sometimes naivety, sometimes a race, and a class contradiction, and an arrogance, a race and a class arrogance, to feel no need to touch down with the family. So later on, the question was raised, why hadn't touched down with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.? Why had they contacted his widow, so on and so forth. So even prior to that, when Forrest Whitaker was talking about doing a movie, other people that were in the Black Panther Party had got word to him, hey, that man's son don't play no games. He don't play no games. So you might, maybe, and so that's what you see later on. They went to done the movie The Butler. Fast forward, when we heard discussion going around about the movie Judas Black Messiah, and typical, and this is no slight on those, the actors, the directors, no one. It's been a modus operandi on how this, not when I say the system, I'm talking about the school system, I'm talking about the judicial system, I'm talking about the courts, I'm talking about the movie industry, the music industry, how it has historically dealt with us as as an object of history. They were set to go, I mean, without even, without even our involvement. And we had to put the word. I said, no, we have to meet people talking about who's going to play Chairman Fred, who's going to play Deborah Johnson. How do who comes in, how the gun is held. All these different dynamics we're taking into account. But there's a history similar to it was and a lot of times people say, well, is it good intent, bad intent? No, it's the way the political setup of this country in particular has been going. I think back, you recall the case Kabila Shabazz, Malcolm's daughter, Malcolm X's daughter, one of Malcolm X's daughter. The attorney hadn't even contacted Betty Shabazz, other people. They would say, I forgot what sort of motion they were going to do in the courtroom, certain positions they were going to take. And I don't even know if he even told her about it. You know what I'm saying? And this is, we see this every day. When lawyers that make certain decisions, schools, politicians, without contacting us, the movie industry. So we put a call us. We got to talk to the people. So we subsequently, we sat down right here at the Hampton House. Sat down. We sat for hours, over 8 hours. Dialogue. Then we called the meet in our office, my office, which is the streets. 3 o'clock in the morning. Even they said the movie industry would not be for it for us to go meet. I literally called for the actors and the cast to Google whatever is the worst neighborhood in Chicago at that present time, real time. It happened to be about 3 o'clock in the morning. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. They Googled, and that's what happened on Madison and Keeler, which is known as K-Town. There were 11 people just murdered, literally. So I said, we got to go there. So people say, man, we don't know if the movie industry going to go for so and so. We was there. Charles King from Macro, who also, Macro also the role they played, in addition to Warner Brothers. But Macro, Daniel Kaluuya, Dominic Fishback, right there, and it was in real time in our office. The blood still on the streets. You can literally smell the situation. And I studied them. I like this term Richard Pryor said. He's a peopleologist. He studies people. And I studied the response to the dialogue. I did the, and also I recognize in the spirit of internationalism that, as we say, subjectivity stunts one's ability to make proper summations. Subjectivity stunts one's ability to make proper summations. Some people believe that what's going on with them is only happening on a certain part of Ohio. Or it just happened to the police just started killing people when their son was just killed. This the background of Daniel Kaluuya. We come up at, so you still, what I'm saying? And this is something that people do when they talk about breeding dogs. They say, well, where did the dog come from? So. But with our people, we have a reactionary assessment, like, okay, this person, so. The background check, the feel, the dialogue, we did all that on the set. And also the respect and the humility, you know what I'm saying? To be able to acknowledge, you know what I'm saying? To pick up on it, that there was a Chairman Fred. We took all this into account. And proof in the, not proof in the pudding, proof in the people. To this day, just now when Daniel Kaluuya was starring in another movie called Nope. I can make it down there, which I wish I did make it down there. You seen the wardrobe design. You seen the fellow cast members still right there, and they still saying Judas and the Black Messiah. There was more valid information that we were able to push inside. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of battles. I'm still damaged from it. I still wake up at nighttime jumping up. Cut, stop. You know what I'm saying? But the deal is to be able to get so much it was more truth that we put there as opposed to many of these unauthorized books. For example, William O'Neill was never Chairman Fred Security. You had all these different right left revisionists, or somebody mean white left, someone was just white left. Guy who jumped on, took credit for the Mike Gray, saying something like, "Yeah, Fred." Again, man, you listen to what people say, how they can say President such and such, they can say Reverend such and such, but they get tongue tied. They get tongue tied with that master's whip. They can't say chairman. Mike Gray said something like, "With Fred, how he trusted O'Neill." Chairman O'Neill was never Chairman Fred Security. And you said, "Wait a minute, why would this be?" And I remember on the movie set struggling when people were bringing, saying, "Well, man, Chairman, the book said this book said this." And that's how they get us. Like that. You go back and say, "Okay, where it come from?" A lot of people say, "Well, black people don't like to read." I know why. It's so much misinformation. They'll say, after you said a couple of times, it takes on a life of its own. It came to the point one time on the movie set, I said, "Listen, I wouldn't care if you brought it to me and you showed me in the Quran or the Bible that I'm telling you." Then it come, man, not to sound sacrilegious, revolution is my religion. I know this. I study this man. I say, find me one picture. Find me one picture of Chairman Fred O'Neill just by themselves. Heighten the contradictions. Daniel Kaluuya, the respect. There was times on that set, I said, damn. I mean, we come in, I said, oh, hold on, you know what I'm saying? The violence, all that, even down to the sideburns, the respect. Man, you, with a movie Chicago 7, who had a person, there's no slight on him, the guy Kevin, I can't even call his last name, who's from New Orleans, which is inside the United States. Last time I checked, Louisiana Purchase, the French, they sold it to America. So that's still, we're talking about this in America. Who's in America? Now, we have a branch down there headed by a coordinator, Albert Chewy Clark, who did 18 years in Angola, who we've been fighting campaign after campaign down in New Orleans, Louisiana. You had the Hurricane America, not Hurricane Katrina. Again, remember, everything political. Now, this person in New Orleans, there wasn't even a contact but their directors with him to touch down with us. You can see the differences. You can see the body language. Go look at both movies in contrast. Look at both movies in contrast. See, the politics, it transcends generational, geographical, and gender lines. Yeah, and this movie and you have to go back and look at who put that narrative out, who benefited from that narrative. Yeah. I'm talking Jamal Brewers there about not knowing O'Neill was his security. You know what I'm saying? And why was this narrative consistently put out? See, the white community can look at a TV show, right? Let's go with a TV show with Blue Bloods. They can look at Blue Bloods, it's about the police. They can look at white men and white women working in concert. It never comes to them, enters their mind, well, they must be in a relationship together. Or that must be his cousin. Or that must be his friend. Or he must like that lady. Or she must be a Virgo. Or he must be an Aquarius. It's recognized in an official capacity. The Black Panther Party. Notice, I told one guy doing an interview, he couldn't say chairman. I said, man, you can say it now. The movie industry, I got them to say it. This puts it in official capacity. This is an organization. It was not a ragtag group of cats. You know what I'm saying? Checks and balances. There are people who've been around me who I don't deal with personally. In fact, there was one individual they had implemented, put in our organization. And I remember early on the contradictions. And however, he had a designated job to do. And we used to make jokes about it. I say, if we were free, I wouldn't be around this guy. We must see, it's like, I tell you ask a woman what she would do, you ask what she would do with regards to her children, you're liable to get a different answer. What we would do for the people to struggle. Chairman Fred, as he always said, relates to democratic centralism. The greater good, because we relate to the old African axiom, mind you, that says what's good for the family may not be good for the community. What's good for the community is good for the family and the community. With people's programs, parties, the Black Panther Party, right on. We have The triple C's, children, community, and Cubs. Children, community, and Cubs. That's the triple C's, children, community, and Cubs. Every Saturday in particular, whether it be in Saint Denis, France, whether it be, we're going to be in Ghana very shortly. Yes, matter of fact, we're going to be going to Ghana. December 1st through the 8th, we're going to have International Revolutionary Day there. First time in Africa, yeah. My first time in Africa was past December, but we're going to have, I'll be back there, yeah. We had the triple C's. We had Freedom On Radio. Tune in every Wednesday. Freedom On Radio, hosted by myself and Lady of Rage. It's done in the spirit of Black Panther Party newspaper. The triple S's, the straight street sessions, where we said we can't get them cats to come to the meetings. We take the meetings to them cats. We had a one prisoner, one contact. Basically says everyone should be in contact, be able to give a status check on some particular prisoner. Supporters of the party today. We definitely need support. So our major campaigns we've been dealing with, as I mentioned earlier, Save and Maintain the Hampton House. Whatever support people can give, come directly, 804 South 17th Avenue. 804 South 17th Avenue, Maywood, Illinois, 60153. You can also touch the different events. We can go to savethehamptonhouse.org. Also, they can send donations. Chairman Fred Jr., Chairman Fred Jr. at gmail.com via PayPal. Go to PayPal. Chairman Fred Jr. Via PayPal. We those in Chicago area, Oakland. We working on a move now. I hope we can pull it up August 17th. International move in regards to the late Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey to have, different politicians, representatives push forward this legislation, like also in particular a pardon on the case of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. People say, why are you going to pardon on he ain't locked up right now. See, we say legacy is more important in your life. You know what I'm saying? We want to use these various apparatuses as a tool, hiding the contradictions. You know what I'm saying? Because when we fought for the street to be after Chairman Fred, the state they fought us. You know what I'm saying? But they helped bring people to the attention. Like, damn, who is Chairman Fred? Why can my reverend? Why can my pastor? Why can my leader get a street named after him in Chicago? But they don't want a street named after Chairman Fred. Why the police still shoot up Chairman Fred's tombstone every year in Haynesville, Louisiana? We want to hide these contradictions. Okay, I believe it's my time. I'll make sure. Any other questions before we close out? He told me 10 minutes. It told me 10 minutes ago, over 10 minutes ago. But again, Revolutionary, appreciates for having me. Chairman Fred Hampton, the Black Panther Party Cubs. Respect the legacy, protect the legacy, never neglect the legacy. Again, it's an honor to be here. I encourage you again to go to savethehamptonhouse.org. Also, we work on the website Chairman Fred Streets Party. That's streets with a Z. Z is in zebra. Chairman Fred Streets Party. I think that website should be approved and be up shortly. That's August 30th. You know what I'm saying? Also, again, with there are different donate buttons that be on there, how you can support the Chairman Fred Streets Party. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you, Jamal Brewer. Thank you, and thank you all. I'm honored to serve the spirit of internationalism. One struggle, one people. You know what I'm saying? Africa. For those at home, those abroad, long live Marcus Garvey. Power to the people. Now do I come out? This technology. Oh, sessions. Okay, yeah.